Welcome back to Vikings Central, everyone. Week 11 matchup between the Bears, and it just went final. Cairo Santos just kicked the field goal for the win, 19-17 Bears. Before we get into it, I do want to make sure that I thank our sponsors. That's Badass Wood Art, SeatGeek, and Homage. And if you're looking to go to any more Vikings games this year, make sure that you use code Vikes Central and get $20 off any $50 or more purchase. That code's eligible for all SeatGeek tickets for any concerts or events that you're going to here in the future. Now, with the post game show, please make sure that you drop us a comment. So if you're watching this, and I'm sure there are a couple comments, questions that you may have on what was, for the most part, a very, very poor performance overall for the team today versus the Bears. I will say that there were some bright spots that I'll talk about as far as the offensive line in the job, at least for the most part. You can't say that the defense didn't keep us in this game. So there were some bright spots on the offensive side of the ball. I know you got comments. So make sure if you're on X, YouTube, Facebook, drop us those comments and make sure that you're following us, like us, subscribe, and then also check us out on TikTok and then also on our Substack. We have great articles that we're covering the purple. Everything that we bring you guys, we try to make it and we're trying to improve everything we do at Viking Central all the time. So thank you for your support as well. So 19-17 Bears, early on in this game, we jumped out to that 3-0 lead. It took a couple series before we found at least enough rhythm to get down into Bears territory and kick a field goal. But then after that, it just, it kind of snowballed to where the Bears built a 16-3 lead on us. We were able to kind of claw our way back into it. And then towards the end of the game here, and actually here late in the fourth quarter before that last drive, JJ McCarthy had only thrown for 95 yards in this game with 2 interceptions. That's pitiful. So I'm not going to, obviously highs and lows with a young quarterback that's trying to learn. That's just an awful product that was put out there today. Yes, there were some drops by receivers today, but JJ missed a lot of throws, missed a lot of wide open receivers. He was 16 for 32. So again, he's only passing for 50. He's only completing 50% of his passes. That's not good. A lot of balls getting tipped at the line. So I'm not sure exactly what we can do to prevent that a little bit more, but it seems like there's a lot of passes that JJ has that are getting tipped at the line. And again, he had 2 interceptions. Got to protect the ball. Got to protect the ball. That's JJ cannot be the reason we are losing ball games. If your quarterback is the reason that you're losing ball games, man, that's going to be tough in that locker room. Defense doing their job, to keep you in the game to have a chance to win. And just one thing I want to say is, we're down there deep in the red zone, and and I get it. You want to score the ball, you want to score, but why are we not running down the clock a little bit more? We had an opportunity to at least make them use their timeouts, at least, but run the ball, run the ball. We were running good, and there's some hindsight to it. But man, we left them 50 seconds. And sure enough, our special teams has been good most of the year. And then we allow, a huge 50+ yard return by Duvernay that just really is a punch to the gut after that touchdown. John Herman on X says, why in God's name will KOC not make a change at quarterback, at least to try something else? You're trying not to, yeah, man. There's gonna be a lot of negativity on this. But yeah, I get it. I get it. Um, you give up on that young quarterback too soon. What does that do? As well too, as far as crushing some confidence. And I get it. He's not making some throws. So how many games do we go before? we try out Max Brosmer. I get that, but man, we may have to endure some bad games uh, to make sure we're not giving up too early on JJ McCarthy. Some of you guys are not going to want to hear that. You may be mad at me for it. Um, I'm not going to stick up for his game today. It was awful. Uh, it was a bad job. You know, he had some good throws in some spots that were not his fault. Um, that just got to be caught by the wide receiver, but just a lot of missed throws, inaccuracies that ultimately, you know, are, are costing this team games. Sav on X says the special teams coach is just terrible. So if you talk about, Miles Price today, Miles Price, good kick returns. Again, we have holding penalties, and then we can't, and then we can't, now we're ranked on PFF like number 2 in the league on special teams. You can't use that. We are ultimately setting up some good things, but kick returns, like, well, why can't we fix this? I'm not saying that holds aren't going to happen, but man, just way too much where they're wiping out good plays by Miles Price. Yeah, Will Reichard's doing his thing, but man, you know, everyone's got to be on the same page that you can't give up a big kick return in that situation for sure. Kelvin Niss, JJ is horrendously poor. Terrible mechanics, QBR rating before the final drive was 14, lowest of any quarterback of the year. Yeah, I'm not going to defend the performance. It wasn't a good performance at all. That's for sure. John, again, fire the special teams coach in the locker room. If it's not long returns, it's penalties negating our returns. I hear you. I hear you. It's just awful. Right on, John. I mean, it's pitiful. Calvin, again, it's dark week for KOC in the Viking front office. The negativity would be out of this world, both locally and nationally. Yeah, absolutely. Again, when the majority of the team feels like they're doing a job to try to uh, put you in a position to win ball games, and the offense is sputtering like it is and going 3 and out, and your defense, at one point in the game, it was talked about where the Bears had uh, like 15 more minutes of time of possession. That's hard to win ball games, and it's not because we're scoring fast; it's because we're 3 and outing, and we keep giving it back to the Bears, and at least they're doing something with the ball to move the ball, and we're not. So, yeah, it's just crazy. Vado Loco says, "How do you give up a 57-yard return with 50 seconds left?" I know. I know. I would think in that situation, uh, yeah, I don't know, you know, boot the heck out of that ball, kick that thing out of bounds, let our defense try to stop them. So, um, or not out of bounds, kick it, out of the end zone. I'm just saying, don't give them, you know, just crazy. You got to talk about that situation where we're at, and make sure that you have a kick that isn't going to put you in a bad situation. I think if we made the Bears try to drive, um, they maybe don't get in field goal range. Our defense was doing a decent job towards the end of that play to even prevent them from getting uh, even deeper into field goal range. So plus Carlos Santos missed a field goal earlier in the game. It was possible that you know you get him back there a little bit deeper, maybe he can't make that. So I think his range is somewhere around that 57, 58 yard. Uh, so yeah, just terrible, not good at all. John, again, Bears were 27th in the league against the pass, giving up 350. Yeah, no Jalen Johnson. We had 95 yards late. That's what I'm talking about, John. We had 95 yards from JJ late in the game. We weren't taking advantage of it. We had some deep shots that we took on them. And, it was either JJ missing or JJ hit him in the hands, and we can't catch the ball. That was the story on that. Yeah, holding on special teams and that last kick from the Sav. I think you're still talking about the special teams coach piece. I think is what you're talking about. Started 2020 says this team is pathetic. Uh, yeah, I mean, we're all feeling negativity, that's for sure, right now. 2026 season can't come soon enough. Me on X, bring back Mullins, Nick Mullins. Yeah, I mean, we have Nick Mullins in this game. Yeah, he maybe throws a couple of picks like JJ did too, but he probably throws you 3 touchdowns as well. So, yeah, it just wasn't a good game at all. Can't defend the JJ performance here. It wasn't good. It was awful. Uh, you know, something's got to change there. So during the week, we got to consistently, yeah, we want to build JJ McCarthy. There's going to be ups and downs, but we can't see this where we're getting either not any better or we're getting worse. So we got to see some kind of progress from JJ McCarthy. Some of the things that we did do good was running the ball. Guys, we ran the ball well. We ran for 115 yards on the ground. Um, Aaron Jones was 16 carries for 70 yards. That's 4.4 a clip. That's good. Jordan Mason, 6 rushes for 45 yards for 7.5 yards a clip. That's great. In a touchdown, of course. But the one thing I noticed that we didn't see today is we didn't see JJ McCarthy. He didn't run the ball at all. He's got the mobility. He had some opportunities where he had green grass in front of him. Now, he did have one where he chose not to run. Green grass in front of him. He threw a long pass, and I want to say it was Jordan Addison. He hit right in the hands. Jordan's got to catch that. That's not on. That's not that pass. I will say I think that was a good decision. Um, you know, when passes hit you in the hands as a receiver, you got to catch that ball. There were a lot of drops today, but again, JJ had some just awful misses. And it wasn't like, hey, he barely missed them on some. There were some where, I mean, they're wide open and, you're not in the same zip code. It just wasn't good there. Um, Bright spots. I did talk about the offensive line. I thought the offensive line did a decent job. If we take a look, this is one thing that JJ, had issues with in the past. He was getting sacked a lot. 0 sacks today. That offensive line did a phenomenal job. Um, they kept him clean. And again, I just talked about the run game. I thought that was very impressive from the offensive line. I thought they did a really good job. The other thing, just to mention was the Minnesota defense. There were some bright spots on there too. You take a look at Blake Cashman had 15 tackles, 6 solo. Um, the defense did some good things. And, with that, the defense as a whole kept this team in the game. And again, to at least give them a chance. So that brings us to the badass player of the game. Yes, even in a loss, we have a badass player of the game. So with that, that's badass wood art. Make sure you use code VC15 to receive 15% off. Our badass player of the game today, I thought was Andrew Van Ginkel, and you could probably say, defense as a whole kind of kept us in this game, but Andrew Van Ginkel, he had 8 tackles, he had 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and got 1 hit on Caleb Williams. Now, one thing I will say that was frustrating is just, we could have had more sacks on the day. We just could not wrap up Caleb Williams, but our badass player of the game, Andrew Van Ginkel, congratulations to you. Keep it up. Um, Now, just getting back to some of your guys' comments and questions. Not completely insane says who was dropping the ball. Plus, JJ McCarthy just can't throw line drives every time. He's got to learn how to use touch and drop it in. There were several drops today, whether that be Addison, I believe, had at least a couple drops. I think maybe TJ and JJ or Justin Jefferson had drops today. Let me just see if I can bring up what they gave. I don't know if I can bring up drops already on this game, recorded drops. I'll have to check back into that. But yes, there were absolutely drops today. You didn't see the game. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, there were definitely drops today in the game. But overall, for the most part, I mean, yeah, you're going to have some drops here and there in the game. And I think some of the things is just with JJ McCarthy. I talked about this earlier, um, in some of our other pre games as well. But I think some of the problem, I made comment, and I think maybe some people uh, didn't quite get the context of this. So I made the comment that uh, people that said that JJ McCarthy doesn't have a strong arm, he does have a strong arm, and he throws it too hard, in my opinion. He's got to learn to be able to feather that ball in and throw it with some touch. And I think if he does that, maybe not as many drops, a more catchable ball, especially when a player's wide open. And then, yes, what I mean by the touch is whether it be an underthrow, he can overthrow. We've seen the overthrows, so just have a little bit more touch, and I think that would definitely help some things. When you're trying to throw a fastball like he is, I think that's when a guy's wide open. Throw it with some touch and make sure that you have an accurate pass that's right on the guy, instead of trying to fire it in there uh, like you're pitching in the World Series. So um, I think that's one of the things I'd like to see JJ get better at doing, is that for sure. Kelvin Niss, I think Dallas Turner played well as a bright spot. Yeah, I thought Dallas had a good game as well. Just taking a look at stats for Dallas Turner, he had 7 tackles, 2 solo. He had a sack and 2 tackles for loss too. So yeah, absolutely. Calvin Niss, you're right on. I thought he did have a good game. But, like I said, I thought there were, some sacks that for some reason we are tackling high on a quarterback, just get them lower, wrap up and bring them down. So, whether it's Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, once you have your hands on them, wrap up and don't let them go. Don't tackle high where they can get out of it. John Herman, it's always the darkest right before the dawn, but right now the lights are off. The windows have been painted with black paint. There are 2 set of blackout curtains hanging. Um, we're now at the point where we need to go 6-1 with the rest of our schedule the rest of the way. That's really tough to do. Um, let me just see if I can bring up our schedule here real quick. I know I have the graphic here somewhere, so let me just bring that up. So this is what we're looking at the rest of the way. So we lost to the Ravens, we lost to the Bears. So out of the Packers, Seahawks, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, Lions, and Packers, we can only drop one more of those games. Now, the Packers look very beatable lately. Absolutely look beatable. So I don't want to give them too much credit. And let's just do a quick check on their game. They were down to the Jameis Winston Giants. Let me just check in on that game. Green Bay did come back and win that 27-20. So, but they do look very beatable. They lost their last 2 before today. So there's no reason why we can't win both of those games. The 2 losses they lost before this were at Lambeau. So next week at Lambeau, that is a winnable game. It is. Our offense has to score points, right? Um, to me, the rest of the way, probably the toughest games to me are the Seahawks game and the Lions game that are remaining on the schedule. Yes, Packers are going to be tough games, and Seahawks will be tough, Lions will be tough. I'm not saying these other teams won't be ones that we could drop, but we got to go 6-1 the rest of the way if we want to have a chance at the playoffs. That's what it is. So I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, but we're not out of it. There's still a chance for it. Calvin Ness says Van Ginkel is a superstar. Absolutely. I mean, he's when he's healthy and he's out there, he's always making some good plays for us. Sav says, I know people want to change at quarterback, but the way to get a young quarterback who's 22 years old, by the way, needs time and growth. I agree with that. That's kind of where I am in the camp. And again, talking to Sean at Bears No Context. Caleb Williams went through this last year with the Bears fan base. People were clamoring for Tyson Badgett during some of the awful games that Caleb Williams was having. Now, Is JJ McCarthy playing worse than Caleb was last year? Yes, he is. But that doesn't mean that he can't grow from where he is. But that's what I was saying before. We can't see in games that JJ McCarthy is either remaining stagnant in his growth or it's getting worse and declining. We got to be able to see growth in some of this stuff. And I can see him trying to work on some of this stuff. But I think the biggest thing that he needs to work on right now is he's got to work on how to be accurate and have touch on the ball. That is what is costing us games right now. Turnovers and not being accurate. Calvin Ness on X, KOC's reputation as a quarterback whisperer was tarnished today. JJ's mechanics would have been addressed before the start of the season. This is inexcusable for KOC and the staff. Yeah, I mean, um, yeah, I mean that's something that I would have hoped would be more of a focus, I guess, in the off season, not just for the coaches, but for JJ. Once he was able to start making some throws this off season, once his um, leg was healthy, I would have liked to have seen better accuracy coming into the season. So, now at this time of the year where we are, say JJ didn't get hurt and miss several games with the ankle sprain, would we be at a better point at this point of the season having those other games? I'm not sure. Kind of like in basketball. When a player has a bad game, they stay after the game at the court and they just shoot free throws, they just shoot threes, or you know they just shoot the ball until they lock it up. Man, JJ, you should be on the field uh, at US Bank Stadium until they turn the lights off, throwing the ball and trying to get accurate. Because right now, that's not an acceptable level of play for any team, let alone this one that has a lot of talent on the team that puts you in a position to be able to win games. We got to have better play at that position. So, other things I just want to touch on too. Caleb Williams didn't have that great of a game. He was 16 of 32. To put this in perspective, he also only completed 50% of his passes. So Caleb Williams did not have a good game. 193 yards off 16 of 32. And DeAndre Swift, now they did run the ball. That's where they were successful on us today, was running the ball between Swift and Monangai. They did run for 140 yards. Now they were only running at 3.6 yards a clip. But where they got us were some big key runs at key times. Caleb Williams ran the ball for 4 times for 26 yards. And those were typically ones that hurt us bad for first downs. And that's not even mentioning the ones where they could have been sacks. Um, and he escaped to like throw the ball away. There were a lot of plays where we could have sacked him back for some real big negative yards. Um, you know, Receiving the ball, we didn't get hurt deep by Udunze. We did a good job with the long passing game. We didn't get hurt deep on a lot of this stuff. So our defense did a good job in keeping things in check, not allowing big plays, and really keeping this team in the game, especially when we lost the turnover battle again today. And again, uh, this team needs to start winning turnover battles and protecting the ball. Has to happen. And we got to create opportunities where we can turn over the ball on defense. We just haven't been seeing much of that. We did have a fumble by Caleb Williams that Odunze was able to recover. But other than that, I mean, just, you know, no turnovers that went our way. So we lost the turnover battle 2-0 today. So that is something that we have to continue to work on. Not completely insane says, yeah, somebody needs to teach JJ McCarthy how to put touch on the ball. Without that skill, he's a one-dimensional passer. I agree. Um, and with his fastball that he has, and you're running a route, um, sometimes these are timing routes where you're throwing the ball before the receiver has even hit their break. and you're turning on that break, ready to catch the ball where it should be, and the guy's throwing it 100 miles an hour. That's a hard ball to catch for a lot of players in the league, in certain positions where you're gonna have more drop balls. Now, especially if that wide receiver is open, just throw a catchable ball. And if I'm throwing something that's just a laser, there is more of a chance that that ball is gonna be, possibly thrown a little bit, off script, whether that be high, low, to the side. It doesn't give the receiver an opportunity to react to the ball, react to the throw, and maybe adjust their body, to be able to make a play on it, even if it is a little bit off. But if you put a little bit more touch on it, you know, maybe your playmakers can help you out a little bit and make plays and catch the ball. Better percentage of them catching the ball. So more touch on the ball is really the big thing there. Still looking to take any more questions that you guys do have. And again, if you have any questions for me, go ahead and drop them on X, YouTube, Facebook. Make sure if you're not following us, make sure that you're doing that. If you're following us on X, do us a favor, go to our YouTube page as well and drop us a subscribe there as well. We're trying to build that up for more viewers and followers with the Packers next week. I do have Coach Josh Jones, who did have he was on this show earlier with a pregame show. We'll have him coming back on again. Now he did have an internship with the Packers here this offseason. He is currently the San Antonio Brahmas quarterbacks coach, and he's going to be coming on the show, the pregame show next weekend. And so next Saturday should be next Saturday at 9 that we're planning for that pregame. We'll send out the marketing announcement once I have everything locked in with Josh. But we're excited to have him back on. Josh is actually a close friend of mine. He's coaching his way in the UFL, trying to get into the NFL as well, and just a really good. He has a really good sense of mind as far as what defensive backs should be doing. He does a lot of stuff on social media, is kind of breaking down film for a defensive back. So excited to have him back on the show next Saturday for our Packers matchup. We are looking for some other individuals, like we had on our pregame show yesterday. We had the bro the bro Hioan. There we go, on the show, and that was a great time having him on. So Josh was a great guest, and then we also had Sean in No Context Bears. Um, and he was good to have on as well too. We are trying to get opponents from each team every Saturday for Sunday games for our pregame show. So to kind of give you that perspective of the other team. Other things I want to mention, homage.sjv.io/Vikings up in that top corner. That's another way that you can help support us as well. Make sure that you go and check out that website. If you're looking for any Vikings gear for you or a loved one, go check out that website. They have some very cool clothing and different wares for you that, again, I like it. It's comfortable and clean. Legendary is on deck with Homage. Go check them out. Just wrapping up this post game show. Again, Bears defeat us at US Bank Stadium, 19-17. We did have an issue. I didn't get a count, but we did have a key Christian Darrisaw false start that ended up being our 16th false start at home this season. That's got to be the worst in the league. Again, something that kind of nipped us in the butt. We had a 3rd and 2 that we were probably running the ball late in the game to try to get a first down. And instead, we end up 3rd and 7. JJ has to pass the ball, incomplete pass. We can't put ourselves in the position where we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So I don't think it was as much of a big deal today as far as the false starts. I guess I didn't catch how many times we did have those penalties. I'll have to go back and kind of take a look at that. But that one did stand out for me. But Um, we're going to be on the road at Lambeau next week, so hopefully we can do a decent job on the road, preventing penalties as well. So I'm not seeing any more comments from you guys on there, from YouTube or X. But again, I want to thank everyone that did provide comments, that tuned in today, that's checking out not only our pregame show, but now on our postgame. So thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your support. Please make sure that you go check out some of our sponsor websites, and we'll see you next time. Check out our Substack again, too. They'll all have an article out this week about what happened today and looking forward to next week's game against the Packers. So for Viking Central, we didn't get the win today, but um, we got to look forward to next week. We got to go 6-1 the rest of the way if we want to get into the playoffs. So for Viking Central, I'm Steve. Skull Vikings. Until next time, you know, just keep your heads up as much as you possibly can. These are rough times, rough games. Sometimes they test our loyalty as Vikings fans, but we'll get through this. All right. Skull Vikings.